Welcome back to the Estate of Minds podcast where real estate meets real talk. And today I've got a guest who's no stranger to the hustle and the headlines, Ryan McCann, and whether you know as the guy who makes deal happens or the guy that's 3 steps ahead in the market, Ryan's the name that carries weight in this real estate game, and that's why he's on the couch today. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Victor. Good to be back.
Great to have you here, mate. It's been a while since we've had a chance to catch up again, hasn't it?
Been nearly a decade, you believe? 9 years, I reckon, it's been since I've been out here at Rockley.
Well, mate, welcome back, and it's great to have you back.
Thank you, mate.
Hey, let's dive into the juicy, and we don't pull punches on this podcast. So, Ryan, you've had some well-documented challenges, haven't you, in your past, and including that drug incident. A lot of people would have crumbled and probably maybe would have hid away from the industry, but you've hit it front on. You haven't disappeared at all, mate. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, 11 years ago now, 2014, my life was at rock bottom. Some issues in my personal life, but obviously had a knock-on effect to my professional life. And I've been doing real estate now for 27 years, but 2014, obviously, not my finest time in the spotlight, and things just got out of hand. But what was reported in the media and what really happened were two totally different things, which is why I suppose, why I hit it on the head and came back, obviously, with the burst that we did and wanted to make sure that, my life was getting back on track.
Well, you certainly turned that around, but the industry is not always kind, is it? And the story broke. How did the clients, approach you with this? How did they react?
Yeah, look, I mean, the ones that might intersect them, they obviously were understanding of what we were going through. We knew what the challenges were. We knew what I'd done, what I hadn't done. Obviously, the journalists had a position where they had to sell newspapers and make things more salacious than what they were. And at the end of the day, we went through a court case process, and the lawyers kind of told me from day one what was going to happen. But in a nutshell, there was some pretty bad headlines, drug dealing and things like that, which was just farcical. Obviously, anything down that path, you're not going to retain a real estate license. And it was just hard to sit back, Victor, and read what was being printed, because we knew what was true and we knew what wasn't true. But in the end of the whole process, we sat down in front of a court and a judge, and I got charged with 17 supply charges over 24 months. Now, I didn't know what supply was at the time.
But I've known you the last 10 years, and you're not that kind of guy. So I could see, after getting to know you, that a lot of what was written and what I heard, a lot of it was gossip, obviously, as well.
Yeah, I mean, probably the second mistake I did besides, don't get me wrong, I was addicted to smoking ice. That's first and foremost. I was in 2014.
So you were?
Yeah, definitely, mate, 100%. I went to rehab, 4 weeks in a clinic. I was definitely an addict. I was smoking it, and not every day, but every couple of days I was. And there's no holes barred there, mate. That was an absolute truthful part about it. But what I took offence to was the selling of it, or the dealing of it. That was the bit that I really couldn't understand where the charges came from. As I said, I pleaded guilty to supply charges, which at the time I didn't know what that was. And it wasn't until the detective, who was very smug at the time, asked me if I knew what it meant, and I said no. And what it essentially means is sharing it. So sitting there around a poker table with my mates, sharing it, smoking it in the pipe and passing it round, that's supply in Queensland. So when you went through the charge sheet, they busted down my door and 6 o'clock in the morning, and there was $250, nearly $300 worth of ice at my house, and which doesn't sound like a great deal, but still it's $300 too much.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the supply charge is sharing it, and it was $50, $50, $50, $50. So it was a lot of noise and a lot of news under something that wasn't so big.
Yes.
But my name was up in lights, and at the time I was obviously the number 1 LJ hooker agent in Queensland and number 5 in the country. So it made headlines.
Well, you were a star real estate agent. But I can honestly say you've really turned Apple around, and you've bounced back from there. I mean, what you're doing in the industry now and the results that you're getting, you are, honestly, and I'm not blowing sunshine here, you are one of Queensland's best agents around Australia. And that's really a remarkable recovery. You were always a great agent, and we'll dwell into, how you went down this pathway and what that fame, popularity kind of does to a lot of agents, because you're not the only one. That probably just made you a bit of a case study, dare I say.
Yeah, no, look, I think if there's a silver lining to it, Victor, it certainly, there was an office of nearly 30 agents at that office at the time. It was a very big office, and certainly there was a lot of people that certainly stopped partying, I think, after that.
Do you think that the real estate world is forgiving, or did you have to fight twice as hard to rebuild that trust again?
So for the ones that were in that inner that circle, they were very forgiving. I think because I had a really good relationship, as I said, for 15 years prior to that with clientele, and they weren't stupid. Like, the real estate that I sell is not first home buyer stuff, and I don't say that to be rude, but they're quite smart people. They've got somewhere in life because they've done well. They knew who I was. They dealt with me before, so they didn't align me to being what the front page of the Courier Mail had splashed out as a tabloid. But in saying that, to answer your question, forgiving. There's still people out there, mate, still 11 years on that have never met me, don't know me, and would still regard me as a drug dealer because of what they read in the Courier Mail. Well, that's what hurts.
Yeah, right. And, there is a stigma around drugs, especially professions in high-stake industries like yourself. How do you push through that judgment and still show up saying, I'm Ryan, I'm the agent every day? And how does that work? I mean, you said that there's a stigma there still with certain people.
Yeah.
Does that bother you, Ryan?
And not to be a cliche, but to answer that question with a question is, what's plan B?
Yeah, right.
So you don't have another option. So for me, you just have to turn up.
Yes.
There's no magic wand. There's nothing I can say to change people's opinions until they meet me. So all I ask people to do is give me an opportunity to fail you, and then it's on me.
You're going to be a dad very shortly, right?
I am, yes.
What's going to happen when your daughter reads that newspaper article about the Courier Mail?
Yeah, we spoke about it. Jess and I have certainly talked about it, and I mean, obviously, I'll be very transparent and explain what happened, and very, very similar to the conversations I suppose we had with Jess's family. Like, Jess was my assistant at the time. We were kind of dating at the time when it all happened, and Jess's family is all straight 80s. They're a fantastic family, but very, very close bond. And they had no idea whatsoever. So for her to have me on the headline news of Channel 9 and Channel 7 and the front page of the Courier Mail 11 years ago, and her dad, who's very protective of his two daughters and the son, he just said to her, "Did he do it?" And Jess said, "He smokes it, but no, he doesn't sell it." And Phil, to his, he's a good mate of mine, my father-in-law. Not everybody can say that, but he said, then we back it. And I've always felt that support.
And they're still around you, those people too, which is fantastic.
Sometimes, unfortunately, but yes. He's a Kirby Bulldog supporter, mate. It's not.
We'll forgive him, man. Go the Broncos.
Yes.
We're in trouble then when you play the Broncos. Very much so, mate. I'll be SMSing in a... But a lot of young agents look at the flashy cars, the big commissions, and probably the real danger of mixing that lifestyle with the temptations of coming to success. Do you think that was why you were where you were in 2014?
Yeah, it's a good question, Nick. Yes, is a short answer. I think my addictive personality, when I'm in something, I'm in it. And I partying at the Valley and the nightclubs and parties I shouldn't probably be at, when the wrong things are going around at a certain party, is probably not the best environment for me to be in. And I learned that through 4 weeks at rehab and doing Narcotics Anonymous and things like that. But for me, it's just putting yourself in an environment where that's not going to be around. And then in addition to that, I think that I learned a lot from rehab, and I suppose I celebrated with smoking that, and then I commiserated with smoking it too. So if I had a big sale and it came along and you picked up 6 figures in commission or something like that, I celebrate. And I was very generous. So it's better to smoke with somebody else than by yourself. So I was very, very giving, and then it turned into celebrating it on one weekend, and then the next week a deal didn't go your way, and then I commiserated, to numb I lost that deal, or that didn't get together, or I should have done better there, or how did I miss that listing? So then I commiserate. So all of a sudden you're either commiserating or celebrating. And all of a sudden that turned into nearly a daily process. And I was addicted very, very fast.
And to some degree, the supplement to that for us every day is alcohol. So a lot of people use that as that kind of
Correct.
benchmark there too, except that you were doing illicit drug. So,
Correct. And you're dead right. Whether it's you know, alcohol, drugs, depression, whatever it might be,
yes.
yeah, it can spiral out of control if you don't take care of it.
Do you think enough was done by the real estate industry in addressing addiction, stress, that mental health, or was it all kind of swept under the rug? How did the industry support you through this? I mean, you mentioned Bangware obviously there, but there were a lot of young people, a lot of new agents, new graduates reading and listening to this podcast today.
Yeah. First and foremost, each individual has to be responsible for themselves. So I don't want to pass the blame on to anybody else. They were my decisions. I made poor decisions. And what I'd say to young people, and I know you deal with a lot of new recruits coming into the industry through your business, what I would say to them, and it's a dire warning, is if you choose to do those things, especially early in your career when you don't have a long list of successful sales or a hit list of properties that you can stand behind, your career is going to be very, very short. Real estate will not be that forgiving for you. The one thing I suppose that was the silver lining for me is I had a decade and a half of sales and awards and the accolades that you could kind of lean back.
It was a pin-up boy.
Correct. So
That's why you all over the media.
So they kind of gave you, a second chance. But in saying that, Victor, this is something that a lot of people didn't know was a lot of my friends within the industry that knew me really well that owned offices in my area.
Yes.
Wanted the opportunity to, one, give me a chance to get back into it, and two, obviously, it's going to better their business. So they were principals at other offices. Every single CEO or every estate manager said, no, thank you. So I didn't know I was the number one agent at LJ Hoggers. I was selling $1 million in commission in 2012, 2013. Nobody at that point in time put their hand up.
You were tarnished, right?
Correct. And until the court process had finished, water had gone under the bridge. First National were absolutely fantastic. The CEO at the time, the state manager at the time, spoke to my lawyers to see what the end result was going to be. And then based on that, they had a board meeting. They rolled the dice with me. And 11 years on, it was the right decision to make.
Yeah.
But a lot of work and perseverance went into that. A lot of apologizing and a lot of recovery has gone into that. But at the time, it was really important. Now, when I say that those officers didn't want a bar of us, every single one of them has come back over the last 5 to 6 years and said, would you like to open up a brand in the Red Lighters in Cleveland and represent our brand? So
they do the coming out.
Correct. So and that's where I really appreciate First National and my loyalty is to that brand because they stood by me when nobody else did.
How did the incident, do you think, change you? Not just as an agent, but as a human and about to be a father?
Massively. Empathy is something that you really find out, what the real meaning of empathy is. I aligned myself with a charity called Drug Arm in 2015.
Charity dice. Yeah, leave the link in the description below too.
Honestly, a fantastic charity, and they do look after alcohol, drug addiction, but they I probably put 6 figures into them over the years, and that helps people that can't afford to get through rehab get paid for, so they can get the rehab that they need. So it's something that we I remember donating. I think it was $2,000 at the time, which wasn't a lot of money at the time, but I remember reading somebody's correct. I had nothing. But I remember reading somebody's comment on Facebook that said, so he gives $2,000 to a charity and we all forgive it. So I wanted to make sure that was an ongoing commitment that we just never finished with it. So now, obviously it's over $100,000 that we've given over the last time period that we've been with them. But again, it's an ongoing commitment that we still contribute.
So Drug Arm were there for you, obviously. Do you think the past mistake actually made you a better agent today? Because, you could relate more to people who hit rock bottom now too.
Absolutely. Has it made me a better agent? I think so, because I think empathy comes into real estate. And when you can, feel empathy towards a client or a situation that they might be in, I feel like in 2013, 2014, when I was at my worst, I feel like sometimes I was numb.
And they're not very good at empathy, are we?
No,
we're not, so...
We're not, mate. But we like get there. That's but I just feel that, I'm certainly a better human. Like I said, I'm now cut off the office credit card. I give too much away for charities. I know for last month alone, I think we gave $10,000 to $12,000 away. So my account manager won't let me have access to the cards anymore. I'm not allowed to access the cars. I sponsor everybody. I got people that ring me up for a drive in the sports cars on the weekend. I'll take them to a formal. There's nothing in it for that. It's just giving back. And that's one thing I did learn from rehab was when you go through these steps that they talk about this, it's trying to do something nice for somebody on a daily basis that you don't get recognition for. And I was like, well, what can I possibly give? All my accounts are frozen. I've got no money. What would you like me to do? And they said, take your neighbour's bins out. Look, the little old lady next door, take her bins out. She said me, hey, take it. And I was like, oh, that counts?
Yeah.
And yeah, it counts.
So it's not always about the money, right? It's about time.
Correct.
And money can't buy time.
Correct. And it's the thought process of just making somebody's life a little bit better than it was today. And if you can do that, whether it's my wife laughs all the time. We drove through. We got a drive-through coffee shop down near my house at Cleveland, and
What's the name of the shop? We did a plan. Is that
Zaffrey's? But every time I drive through there, I always pay for the people behind. Always. Never once in one dog. And my wife just go, oh, God. So every single time, it's just one of those things. And I think, but I always think back to the rehab. It's $5. Like, why not?
Absolutely.
So yeah, just thinking outside the square and enjoying food. It's done. And that's the same as an addict. That was the same chase you used to get when you were chasing something to smoke. Wow. So it does make you feel good. You get that dopamine hit. It is good.
So there's agents listening right now and secretly probably maybe struggling with drugs or struggling with stress or maybe even burnout. You know, you've worked now the drug arm, and I know you're very heavily involved there. You talk to a lot of people about this. What do you tell them?
First of all, you need that inner circle. You need the people, one, trust you and want the best for you. But I always say this, and again, this came from my time at Currumbin, at the hospital there, is you can't give up addiction, whether it's alcohol or substance abuse. You can't give it up for your wife. You can't give it up for your kids. You've got to do it for you. So people fail because they're giving up for the wrong reasons. It sounds nice to do it. But if you're not at that point where you're saying, I'm done with this lifestyle, it's never going to work. And for me, you know, my late dad said to me many, many years ago, there's no greater fear than the fear of loss. And I love that saying, because when you think you've lost something, you want it more. And I thought I lost my real estate career. Now, I've only been employed in real estate my entire life. I started when I was 19 as a full-time job. I've never had a full-time job other than real estate. When somebody says to you, you might not be selling real estate again, you really pull your socks up and say, I've got to better my life. And that's how that whole process started. So for me, you've got to want to give it up yourself. And if you're going through something, seek attention, seek help. It's not weak to do that. I know that you're a massive footy fan as well. You know, when we were kids, you watched Day of Origin, it was a badge of honor to get knocked out and still play on. Today, that's not accepted. You know, they get a couple of hits in their head, they take time off, they get themselves mentally fit. And it's the same as real estate. It's the same as business, any business, whether you're a solicitor, a real estate agent, or any other occupation. You've got to look after yourself head-wise. And if you're depressed or you are struggling with addiction, seek help.
It's not a weakness anymore, seeking help, is it? Honestly, it's a biggest strength now.
Correct.
It's smart. It's a smart play.
Why am I here today?
I knew of you before this incident, and I've learned a lot about you since the incident. And I sense in the 10 years that we've known each other, there's a lot of sincerity, that empathy you spoke about. It's obviously been revolutionary and changing your life. It's probably become part of your story now, hasn't it?
Absolutely.
Do people Google you before they list with you and they kind of know this? Do they ever bring it up, or is it just faux pas?
Yeah, no, certainly. I think one of the best things I did in the very early days, 2015, when we opened up First National in June, one of the most disappointing things was getting a phone call, as you do, or a text message from a prospective seller saying, can you come here and do an appraisal on my house? Great, yep, no dramas. I'll be there at 2:00 tomorrow. Great, yep, fantastic. And then an hour later, the same person rings back to cancel. And you kind of knew in the back of your head why they'll cancel it. It still happen. No, not now it doesn't, but at the start it did. And so I'd had to approach it, and I'd have to just rip the Band-Aid off and say, look, is there something, would you like to reschedule? No. Okay. Righto, let's just dig a bit deeper. And then you got them talking about it, and they said, look, it's just probably not going to be the right fit for us. Absolutely. So we came up with this letter, and we wrote it out, and it was called Warts and All. So it literally went through my entire story of what happened. because, as I said before, what was published in the paper and what went through court were two totally different things. We had the chief magistrate's summary on what had happened, and it was literally $50, me and a couple of mates sharing it at your home. And once people understood that you weren't a drug dealer, and that was what you were charged for, literally sharing with somebody sitting next to you, they were like, "Oh, okay, that's not what we thought." And I couldn't blame them for that, because if I read that about you or Joe Blow in the newspaper, I would have had the same assumption.
There was no perception.
Correct. So once they got to know me, as I said to you before, just give me the opportunity to meet with me. And if you don't like what you see or you don't like what you feel, then we cancel, we walk away. I'm absolutely fine with that. And lucky for me, 9.5 times out of 10, that doesn't happen. And it's funny because some of the people that actually cancelled at the time read the letter, then re-engaged me to go back. Now they're social friends of mine. 10 years up. And now I hang out with them and we have dinner parties and but I sold 5 houses for one of them in my area, over the last 6-7 years. So it's good to see that. And as I said to you before, just give me the opportunity to meet with you. And if you don't like what you see, we move away.
You've been very transparent in putting that forward. Do you think that's been the secret sauce to this relationship and a rebuild of your career?
Yeah, I think, look, it certainly wasn't planned. I think it just comes naturally. You have 2 choices. You go, left or right. You could either, sugarcoat it and hide it and pretend it never happened, or you can just say, I stuffed up. Like, it's not what you read. That's not the truth. But correct, but it happened. As you said, unfortunately, my daughter will be able to Google it in 20 years' time. It's there forever. I can't change it, but also it keeps you accountable as well. If you do make mistakes, and again, we're going back to the younger crew that you will, in your business, if you do make mistake, there are repercussions.
But it's probably, I look, having a daughter myself, I look back on it and I like the fact that she knows that Dad's not perfect.
Yeah.
And Dad's not going to be perfect. And we're going to make mistakes as parents, and we're going to make mistakes as human beings.
I think my dad, he told me a story once. He turned up to his wedding day with my mum back in Manchester in the 70s with a black eye, because they used to have bucks nights the night before the wedding. I find that funny now. Mum didn't find it funny at all.
But that's the male humour. Look, it'd be remiss of me, because we've got the opportunity to talk to you today. We've spent a lot of time on the personal story, but I'd really like to dwell into real estate. And, going into, how we can, help our students, how we can embrace this knowledge that you can impart, your expertise. You are a really, really, really top agent, and you do a lot of things that are a little bit outside the box and outside the framework. But I've got a good question for you here. You being the Dangwa, if real estate was a sport, what would you call yourself? The coach, the captain, or the guy throwing the lays at the rep?
Definitely not the last one. Definitely not the last one.
When the rep wasn't looking.
No. I do play by the rules. When it comes to real estate, definitely by the rules. I would to answer that one honestly, mate, I would say that over my career, which is 27 years now, I think I've been both the first two. So I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have a great career. I think a first national #1 agent in Queensland for 7 or 8 years out of the 10 that I've been there.
Sorry, mate. In the description below, I'll be telling them all about that.
Yeah, but I think to be the captain, you could have runs on the board. My best year in real estate, I think I wrote 3.6 million GCI. To be the captain, I think you've got to get people to look up to you. But if you ask me that question on today, I'm not writing the same numbers I did today, but we're still doing a couple of million GCI. But I've got 27 staff, 835 managements that we look after. So you've got to have a different cap on every day you come to work. So I'd like to think I'm the coach. One of my agents in the office today is the #1 agent in First National in Australia, Bianca Stubbs, and she was a PA at a great agent and a better person. But she was a PA for somebody 4 or 5 years ago, and her, she skyrocketed with her career. I'd like to think that I feel like a coach because you can give people advice on what to do. I get really excited about my agents in my office achieving their best personal sales in GCI. So that would make me a coach, I think.
I think so. I think that's not a bad thing. You kind of step back,
correct,
but the business has gone forward because you're doing exactly that now.
And you get
into in these periods.
I get more satisfaction out of somebody in the office and the sales department literally having their best year on record rather than what you used to do for your own GCI.
You're the one who's in it, mate.
Wayne Bennett. He was a police officer.
Well, then, thank you. Every agent says they go above and beyond. What's the most outrageous, over-the-top thing you've heard done for a client to seal a deal?
For me?
Yeah. Tell us some stories here, Ryan. I want to go juicy now.
Geez. I mean, I've done inspections at after midnight when I had a a nurse, an empty house. Clients were desperate to sell their own. I go back to the UK. The buyer was a nurse, the seller was a nurse, but they were opposite shifts.
Right.
So the only time I did somebody through was after midnight. That was an interesting one. I ended up in the canal a few times on purpose, fully dressed for attention and eyes on the product, just to get someone to look at a house. But I probably reckon the best one, and this is a funny one. He was a general in the army. He was an ex-federal police. Great guy. I sold his house, broke the record of his house sale. He asked me to drop the commission, which we didn't drop because it was a record sale. And he was filthy at me for not dropping it in a good sense of humor way. And I ended up selling the house in Navy Bay. And he was about 70, 72. And we were going down 1.7 million at the time. This is probably 10 years ago. 1.7 million at the time the house was. I think we were arguing over 10 grand.
Wow.
Right, 10 grand. And you know what always happens at the 10 grand park?
Of course.
Sharpen your pencil, drop the commit, get it together. And I said to him, no, don't ask me to go back to see the sellers at the extra 10. Don't ask them to drop the 10 grand. The house has got a teppanyaki table out the back. And he said, Ryan, I'm 72 years old. What the bloody hell am I going to do with a teppanyaki table? And I said to him, as quick as he could, I said to him, if you buy this house and don't let me go back for the extra 10 grand off, I will get the best teppanyaki chef that you've ever met in Cleveland, and I'll have him out to your house to not only show you how to do it, I will put the feed on for you and the family. And he said, is that true? I said, yeah, true. Anyway, he did it. Yeah. Now, I thought it was his wife.
Him, me later.
Yeah, I thought it was his wife, him, me, my missus. I thought, the four of us would sit down on settlement day and have a teppanyaki meal. Well, he must have had the entire extended family. About 20 people turned up, $150 there. It would have been cheaper for me to drop the commission than pay for the teppanyaki. Now, still to this day, he's a good friend of mine, and every federal or state election, we go around to each other's house and we buy a bottle of red wine, a bottle of port, a block of cheese, and we watch the federal election together. I absolutely love it.
Wow, okay. You heard it here, Clay. He gets turned on by the federal.
I love it. I love it.
I think he'd prefer a bulldog, yeah. But, mate, and I'm asking you this question because obviously your history, and I hate to bring this back again, but I need to ask this question because what's bigger, high closing record-breaking deals or proving your doubters wrong?
The latter. Definitely proving doubters wrong. Don't get me wrong. I've sold $4, $5, $7, $8 million houses, and 6-figure commission checks are obviously not experienced by a lot of people, and you're very fortunate to be in that position. But proving doubters wrong. I'm a big one for motivation quotes and whatnot. If you see our boardroom in our office, the entire room's covered in positive quotations and whatnot. My one in my office is a Babe Ruth phrase, which is it's hard to beat somebody that never gives up. And then I think for me, it's definitely proving people wrong. People said that your career was finished. That was a motivation, a high motivation in my career. Above the sales entry at the office, just so the sales guy can see it when they walk out. It says success is the best revenge.
Did you think that you were not going to go back in real estate at any point?
No, I lost your mind. Yeah. What the scary part was that I left my career in the balance with people that didn't know me. That scares the hell out of me. With the QPS, obviously, I had my angle, and obviously, the Courier Mail jumped on board. Now, I wrote 2 apologies. Unfortunately for me, the apologies weren't the front page of the publication. They were about this big, and they were on page 52 twice. So I left my career in the hands of OFT and a chief magistrate. Now, fortunately for me, that worked out in my favour. I never want to go down that path again.
That would have been tough, mate. You would have been in some dark place.
Well, I said to you before, Victor, it's the only full-time job I've ever had. So, I'd be stacking shelves at Woolworths.
You've seen agents come and go. What separates a good real estate agent, you reckon, from one that claims out in 6 months?
Passion. Again, go back to the slogans in the boardroom. I've got a nice phrase there, which is passion changes everything. And I live and die by that. If you are not passionate about what you're doing, you're not there for the right reason. You can't chase a dollar. You can't be there to buy a Ferrari. You can't be there to, fund the lifestyle that you wanted to have. There are byproducts, and I had a really good business coach called Chris Anderson early in my career when I started the business at First National.
The ex-Bulldogs, right?
No. This guy's a Kiwi though, but he was a very successful, or still is a very successful builder and developer. But he sat me down on his beachfront house at the time, and I was crying into a Slurpee and said, "Mate, I think my career's over." And he said, "Did you do what they said?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Then get up and dust yourself off, mate, and get back to it." And he taught me really quickly that if you're there for the wrong reasons, just to add money to your bank account and to buy those things, people will see through that. If you're there for the right reasons, that you're passionate about your industry, I don't care if it's sewing or tapestry. If you're passionate about what you do, you will do it better than anybody else. And my soundboards to young agents coming through is if success, money, and all those things that we aim for, the material things, are the byproduct of doing things right and doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, love that. Do you still have that Stevie D show?
No, actually, on my wedding day, my brother, my best man at my wedding, on my wedding day.
That's what you got arrested in.
Yeah, it was my pajama shirt. But he actually, on my wedding day, presented me with a Scooby-Doo shirt, the bugger.
I thought about today, one of the things I was going to get the zoo was, and Abigail would have killed me on Phil if she would let me. I was going to get you a Scooby-Doo shirt to wear to the interview, but I thought that might go.
Well, I was 114 kilos at the time too. I mean, I'm not anorexic now, but I was 114 kilos, so it probably would have looked like a dress on me.
I'm not sure whether you would have worn the shirt though. Now, be honest, agents born with the gift of the gab, or can they be trained?
Well, I do have Irish heritage, mate, so I should say gift of the gab, but I don't believe in that.
Until that order of pat.
This is a true story. So I believe the latter. I think you can be trained. I think obviously it gives you a head start to be naturally gifted, just like some athletes. And I watched a documentary on Tom Brady.
Yeah,
and Tom Brady said he was the worst vertical jumper in the NFL quarterback competitions they put them through. He had the weakest arm. His aerobic fitness wasn't great. He was the slowest sprinter, and he's the all-time greatest quarterback of NFL. The best. He's the Michael Jordan of the NFL. Now, he said very confidently there was one test that they didn't test when I went through NFL school. And somebody said, "Mate, they tested you for everything. They do fat tests, bold tests, everything." He said, they never tested my heart. I had the biggest heart. Now, take that to real estate.
He's an intelligent guy as well.
Great. A passion changes everything. So I think gift of the gab could certainly help. It certainly makes you more personable, which is always good. And you can relate to people and makes these the whole conversations. But you can learn, and that's where I suppose businesses like yours come into place. You can certainly learn and study things to be better.
Absolutely.
A great example of that, and I won't mention personal names to don't embarrass anybody. But I had somebody that worked with me very closely when I was at LJ Hookers, and at LJ Hookers at Cleveland, we used to have a board with all the agents. It was 30 agents on the board. Well, this person was 28 out of 30 for months. Well, I'm talking 6 months, 8 months, 9 months, every time at the bottom. And I worked very, very closely with her for a couple of years, and certainly she learned a lot of things from what we do in business and how we go about our business and prospecting and obviously retaining our business. And 2 years working side by side, and she's the #1 agent for LJ Hookers in the country at the moment. So she can't leave.
You're rubbing off on people, and I think the story kind of almost has become your friend, not foe, in regards to this whole.
Yeah. And Alfred, Victor, if you look at it, if it helps one person, because trust me, there was some dull days, and again, I'll go back to the CEO of First National, who our head office is down in Richmond at Victoria. And every time there was a bad article, he would reach out at 8 o'clock at night and just to check up on me, just to see if everything okay. And I needed it. Because when it's about you, and it's easy for people to say, oh, it's tomorrow's fish and chips wrapper. But when it's about you and the publication saying that, it doesn't matter how big your social media reach is. It doesn't matter how many people you've listed a house this week or sold a property for. It doesn't matter how many millions of dollars you sold a certain house for. When a publication as big as the CM writes that about you, you take it personally and you believe it's stamped across your forehead every time you leave the house. And that warts and all story that we put out there, I used to send that to clients so they could read it before I got there. But I also posted it on Facebook. And again, I think it was shared 282 times. Well, that's nothing compared to what the Courier Mail did. So it makes it very hard to outscream them.
Well, they sold newspapers, didn't they? That's what it's about.
Well, I think somebody said to me, you can buy the entire paper for $2.50, and that's about what it's worth.
I don't think too many people are reading those anyway. So, what's one myth about real estate agents that drives you absolutely nuts?
There's one thing I never quite understood in real estate. Buyers always believe that you're obviously trying to charge them too much for the house that they're buying. And sellers can see that you're trying to make a quick sale. Which one's right? Because they both can't be right. But they both can't be right. And so I've never quite understood that. Like, are you saying that I'm making you overpay for a house, or are you saying that I'm selling it too cheap? Because they both can't be right. But they are.
But they're banks there.
Correct. Yeah. So it's never quite correlated with these. You both can't be right. Yeah. Oh, Ryan, you're charging me too much for your house. You've got to get low on that. No, I can't. They sell it. No, we're not going to. So at some point, there's an idiot in the middle, which is us, but you both can't be right. So I've never quite understood that.
We're the mediator, right? So, Ryan, real estate isn't glamorous. It's not all about, the glamour shots and the champagne opens. It's a grind. And you've got to be able to hustle. You've got to be able to grind. And that takes a lot of energy, a lot of work, a lot of mental power. You've been through some tough mental times. What are some of the toughest challenges, though? Not that you found restructuring your career, but just in real estate generally.
I think the hardest thing in general is rejection. Nobody loves to be rejected. And some people can have very, very thin skin. Thankfully for me, I've got thick skin. I've had to, and adapted over time. But it's very, very difficult, especially for starting out, recruits starting out, you guys coming through. It's very, very difficult to get rejected. Now, if you get rejected 2 or 3 times, it can really dampen somebody's energy. And that's a massive thing in real estate. It's probably something that doesn't get talked about enough. You have to have high energy. If you're ironing black socks on a weekend and you look like you're doing that when you get to work, you're probably in the wrong environment. If you're not enjoying the office atmosphere that you're in, you should probably look over your shoulder and see if there's another office that will suit your personality better. But rejection, I think, is one of the hardest things to overcome if you're not used to it. You don't want to get used to it because obviously it means you're not doing well on a commission-only driven industry. But I remember Henry Codebook, and you have to dust yourself off straight away and get back on it. So what I say to my guys is, if you do get rejected, get back into the office, start making phone calls, and finish the day on something positive. Right? That's the best way to get past it. You didn't get that listing that they promised you were going to get. Get back in the office, make your 15, 20 calls that you have to make, even if it's something as stupid as Tom and Sally are coming through our house tomorrow at 3 o'clock for an inspection. It's a positive way to finish because you don't know what could happen from that. So for me, as another great saying, is a hello can lead to a million things. There was a guy in my first mentor I had in real estate, Ray White, in my early days as a 20-year-old. Steve Goodson was his name, and he worked at head office at Ray White. A very smart man. And he used to make me, if I got rejected or I missed an opportunity to list a home, he'd make me ring the seller and thank them for the opportunity, not be salty about it, be very professional, but ask them, was there something that I lacked that I could improve on? Yeah, like obviously I would have loved your business, Victor, and I wish you the best of luck with signing with PRD, and I'm sure Julie's going to do an amazing job for you. And I'd like to help you out if you're still looking at properties. I'd like to help you out and see if we can find you something to buy. But while I got you on the phone, do you mind me asking if there was an area I could have been better at to get your business? What would it have been?
Yeah, great.
And it said really nicely, very, very, politely. It's not salty. It's not crying over spilt milk. But if you don't ask that question, you don't know where to pick up on, and that helps you rejection. Yeah, and it happened in my career really early, at 20 years of age, and I didn't take it too well. And it made me ring this person. And the funny thing was, At 20 years of age, I was the youngest in our area. 1998, there wasn't a lot of 20-year-olds selling real estate back then, and I took this to. I really thought I had this in the bag. I thought I did a perfect listing presentation, and when they told me that they just wanted somebody with more experience, I was like, wow, okay, I'm fine with that. I only had 9 months experience, but the funny thing was they went with somebody who was 48 years of age, but had been in the industry for 3 months.
Wow.
But they didn't know. So the rejection for me was overcome. I was like, well, I can't change the way I look. I mean, my lemon yellow VH Commodores are the best. Yeah, the handy-down tie from my dad was in a few more of these, but I just need some reading. Now I don't have that problem, but for me, I learned so much. Now, if Stephen made me make that call, I would have worn that rejection forever and ever and ever, and yeah, hated the opportunities where that pathway would. So what I say to my guys is, make the call. It could be something. It could be something so something you couldn't change. But I think rejection's hard to overcome, but making that call certainly irons out what you can change in the future.
Absolutely, it does. If you could chase in one thing about the way real estate industry operates today, what would it be?
Well, you and I have already discussed this. Some new legislation that's come in place. Now, don't get me wrong.
Talk that full too.
Don't get me wrong. I'm all for disclosing for buyers. I want everybody to make real estate decisions on all the information they get. What annoys me is bureaucrats that aren't involved in our industry that make decisions based on our behalf. I don't believe that the industry has done the best thing for the industry when you can crash a contract with something very, very minor that is not going to change the price of a home or the outcome, and you can crash it on the day of settlement because, to me, you're stopping other people's lives moving forward. That's the thing I think that the industry can do better at.
I think, yeah, it's a good point that you made there, actually, and we won't get into the controversial too much here today. It's all that keep falling with lawyers, right? Yes. I don't know. We're not condoning anybody studying it. Look, everyone's chasing balance these days. You hear work-life balance a lot, family, business, mental health. What does balance actually look like for you? What's that balance look like? What laws and smoke and mirrors? What?
No. Life balance is extremely important. And then, like we said before about those footy players getting head knocks and making sure they're mentally healthy, so is our industry. And that's where I went wrong originally because I was burning it at both ends. So mentally, I was warped. Those commiserating and celebrating and partying and not having time out, and that I suppose was a catalyst for me falling apart at the time. Today, don't get me wrong, as a young agent in the industry, you have to grind. You have to put in the hours. You have to work minimum 6 days a week, in my opinion. But I don't. I've got an assistant who's, Harrison. He's my cousin. I don't let him work Sundays. Where when I was their age, Sunday was a given. I worked 7 days a week, every day. Public holidays, New Year's Day, Australia Day, you name it, I was there. Easter Sunday, because that's how my dad taught me when they were old school. Today, I don't want my guys working those days. Sunday, you need to have some, and if you have to work Sunday because that's the only time to get that deal done for a client, then take a day off during the week. You have to have downtime, but public holidays, same thing. I won't let my guys work as the boss. If I have to, so be it. But at my age now, 47, mate, look, we've been diligent enough to make some good investments down the Gold Coast. I've got a beautiful beachfront home down there, and that's our getaway. That's our pick up sticks, drive down the coast. It's an hour drive to Tugun. I'm on the beach, and it's I suppose it gets everything back to normal. So if there's a couple of days I think I can get off during the week, and I know I've got a long weekend or 10 open homes, Jess and I will take off, just hear the waves crash, reset, come back to Cleveland, and back into it.
So you're saying it's important for you, and it's something maybe you should have known before this?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would have loved, and that's probably something our industry could work on, is a work module, is showing how to be mentally, reset and start things again, that there is fatigue and you can burn out. One of the best things, one of the worst things about the real estate industry is momentum. And as you know, mate, being in a sales career,
we've heard that a lot from the lip, I guess.
You got to have it. Like, you just don't want to take your foot off the accelerator. When you're rolling out a $5, $6, $7 million a month, The next month you've got your pipeline, and there's 5 million comes out in that month, and then another 6 million comes out. You don't want to take your foot off the accelerator, but at some point, if you don't do that, it burns out. So you do need a reset. Whether you've got somebody in the office you can use as a buddy system, where they'll look after your listings, and you've got an agreement, so you can take off with the family, take the wife, the kids, get away.
You need it.
Just a trip, take off the Hamos, 90-minute flight, reset, go somewhere, have a day out with the family. Sometimes that's all you need is 24 hours just to reset and reprogram. But I think the industry could really work on showing each other how to be a little bit nicer mentally wise.
There's a lot of highs and lows in our business.
Yeah, well, it's up and down, isn't it? Like it's
one of the most challenging things I've ever.
Yeah, I think you also refer in budgeting. So a lot of agents I know
Stress.
Correct.
There's a lot of ups and downs there, isn't it?
because they might have a fantastic month on month, and then as you will know with some of the agents, especially that start their career, they had this fantastic month, all this money rolls in,
Absolutely.
and then the next month they forgot to go list.
Yes, that's
So, and all of a sudden
that's happening for the next two.
correct. So you don't get paid until they settle. So maybe there should be an accountancy thing or a budgeting on how to do things, because there's a lot of agents out there that unfortunately will say they write 7 figures, but that they might owe the ATO 6 figures, and
It's not 40K a month here.
that's not a good industry, good position to be in.
We reached the home stretch, so thank God, he says. I'm going to get off the couch very shortly. It's a quick-fire banter round. Quick-fire banter round with Ryan McCann. So you are all right, Ryan. You escape, yep. We've got our famous quick-fire round. No other thinking here? Us? Gut?
I won't.
Okay.
I'm guaranteeing that I would think.
Here we go. Number 1.
Go.
Most annoying thing buyers say at an open home.
Why are the sellers selling? Every time. Does it matter? Does it matter?
Doesn't matter.
I don't get it.
I'm laughing because I would have probably said the same thing.
I don't understand that anyway.
Number 2, coffee order. What does it sound? What does it say about you? What's your coffee order first and foremost?
Iceland black, and it would be in a takeaway cup. Doesn't matter if I'm sitting in a coffee shop or not, because I'm always on the move.
What's that say about you?
I'm impatient.
Number 3, if your real estate career was a Netflix series, what would it be called?
The sarcastic sense of humor in me would say Breaking Bad.
A good call. Good talk. Good call. We won't go. Number 4, 1 word sellers would use to describe you. Honest answer.
Dependable.
Love it. Number 5, if you weren't in real estate, what job would you be doing?
I'd love to say I'll be a rugby league at the Broncos, but I'm 47, so
Then get your answers, mate.
I did a
Renault's not too far behind you. That's
yeah, true. I did a weekly thing on BBC radio with Olympia, and every week getting a real estate review. I loved it. So maybe a radio.
maybe we need to bring that back.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I really enjoy it. So a radio host.
Talk more after this. Number 6, if you could ban 1 phrase buyers always use, what would it be?
Would be, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I hate that saying. If it's meant to be, make it happen.
What's one thing you never admit to a client but will admit to us right now?
To a client, one thing I'd admit, after 27 years of real estate, Saturday open home aren't as far as they look.
What them are saying that.
Especially, they have to give you 15 minutes to get from each one to each one. And you've got to keep all your license points on your license.
That's because you've got about 10 every Saturday. That's the problem. You've got to stop listing these houses.
Yeah.
Love it. Thanks for playing, mate. Look, thanks for coming on today and being so open with us. We really do appreciate it. What I love about this is it's the real side of real estate that a lot of people don't get to see. The highs, the setbacks, the resilience it takes to stay in the game. And for anyone listening, I think the takeaway is that, you've got great agents selling houses, but it's not always just about selling houses. It's about owning your own story. You've really done that, mate. And we're super proud to call you friend of Balladum. And I'm super proud of where you've come from and where you're going and what you continue to do. And I think that's where the greatest value you can add to us as an industry is putting back. You're certainly doing that in spades, mate. So, look, thank you so much. Great to have you on board.
Thank you.
And look, if you're interested in following us here in the Estate of Minds podcast and hearing more about what Roman's doing, or even getting in touch, or reaching out, the details will be in the blog below. So thanks for joining us again, listeners. And look, that was gold. I really appreciate this today. And thanks for being so open and cheeky with us as well. And if there's anything we can take away today, guys, it's not just always about the soul stickers. There's always a story, and us Asians are humans at the end of the day. So hopefully this would resonate with you, and we hope to see you in the next episode. Thanks again to be your state of minds.